Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Before I start, you've been making fun of my little do-rag thing here. Look, don't hate me because I'm beautiful, okay? There's only me and Gareth A. Davis can carry this sort of look off, all right? But while we're on the subject of top attire, get out of that. See that? How about that? I got this from a very, very fine gentleman who I've got to know through the boxing channel. Him and his missus sent me this. Thank you very, very much, Lee. Much appreciated, mate. It's fantastic. I love it. And yeah, not bad, eh? Got my own name on it and everything. Anyway, enough self-love. There's plenty of time for that later. Right. Press conference. Usyk versus Tyson Fury. Boring press conference until they had this, face-off that lasted for about 4 or 5 hours. And then it was followed by Fury slipping into default settings, going back to his usual thing, where he's effing and blinding and calling him a cunt and a whatever the hell it was, ugly little bug-eyed rabbit. I don't know what the hell he was saying. Now, it was pretty obvious all along that Fury was trying to put a lid on this, trying to keep it contained. But of course, if you get any kind of emotional or psychological pressure, you revert to type. Being able to control your emotions is an enormous part of life in general, not just boxing. So what do we make of him flipping his lid? The pressure cooker exploded. Pew! It's like Chernobyl. You ever see that, Know about Chernobyl? You ever been there? I have. It's a fascinating place to visit. But if you know anything about it, you'll know that the pressure, there was this lid on this reactor that weighed about 1,000 tons, smashed straight into the air from the sheer pressure of it. You can't put a lid on extreme pressure. At some point, there's a tipping point. And I think this little contretemps with Fury and Usyk, I think that showed something. Now, did it show that Fury is focused? Did it show that he's coming for Usyk, that he's really focused, that he's serious, that he wants to do real damage, that he's very, very confident that he can do damage? Or did it show the polar opposite? Did it show that it's finally getting to him, the pressure? He knows he's been beaten. He knows he can be hurt, floored, beaten. He was saying, you couldn't get rid of me. You got a gift decision. It wasn't a gift decision. You lost the fight, Tyson, okay? He can hurt you. Okay, yeah, he couldn't get rid of you. But look at the face-off. Look at the size difference alone. I mean, it's shocking to look at. And you got beaten up and beaten by a middleweight. Okay, that, to use your phrase, middleweight in inverted commas. He's not a middleweight, of course he isn't. He's actually, historically, if you compare Usyk to other heavyweight champions, he's actually quite big. But we live in the land of the giants, of course, at the moment. So what do we make of this? Do we think that Fury is, crumbling is too strong a word, but he's actually revealing some tension, some anxiety that's been inside him, but maybe even a lack of confidence? Self-doubts are creeping in. It's not far now, only a couple of days. And the things he was saying to Usyk, and the fact that the camera, you can see the camera's very close to him, so you can actually see into his eyes. You can see the facial expressions, the body language. It looked pretty real to me. It didn't look like pantomime stuff. And Usyk himself, looking over at Usyk, he seemed intent, but far, far more controlled. You know what I mean? Yes, you can have all these raging emotions and so on and so forth, but if you've got to control them. If you don't control them, they get out of hand. It's like Customato. You probably know the quote. I'm going to paraphrase. About you start the spark, it becomes a flame, and then it becomes a raging inferno. It's how you control it. And he said things like, every man feels fear. It's how you control the fear. It is how you handle what are perfectly natural human emotions, and whether you're controlling them or whether they're controlling you. Now, I've said many times before, at the moment I work in a job where I'm dealing with vulnerable adults, people who've got mental health issues and so on. For many years I worked with people who had addiction issues. We always say, what's the definition of addiction? Are you controlling the substance, or is the substance controlling you? And when I say substance, they don't have to be heroin or crack or anything like that. It can be gambling. It can be eating too many biscuits. It can be anything. It can be shopping online. It can be watching porn. It can be anything you care to mention, you can be addicted to. Why do you think social media is so popular? Because people are addicted to it. They love all this crap, even though it is crap, but they love it because it's very, very addictive. It's very, very suggestive. So I read somewhere that Mark Zuckerberg, he of Facebook fame, doesn't let his kids go on Facebook. Why? Because he knows it's addictive, you see. But it's how you control it. You can enjoy something. You can enjoy a drink. I know people that they used to call them gyro junkies. Whenever they weren't really heroin addicts, but they used to go and buy a bag on payday. Payday being, when they got their benefits. Gyro junkies. I'm going back a few years now to when they used to dish out gyros as your benefits. But you've got to look at Fury, and you've got to look at Usyk as well, and say, are they controlling their emotions? In the case of Usyk, it comes as no surprise where you're thinking, yes. Now, that's not to say he's not feeling stuff inside. I'm sure he is. But how does he appear to be controlling it? When that bell goes, will he be able to reach for his, they call it in addiction, or the 12-step program, they call it higher power. Will he be able to reach for that higher power and, reason everything, get all his psychological ducks in a row, compartmentalize everything to where he is controlling the inferno that is being in the middle of that ring with a man who's 6'9" and weighs 280 pounds or whatever he's going to be. For Fury, very, very different character. It's possible he feeds off that energy, that raw and that fear. Some people do that. They rise to the occasion, but they need to feel that fear. They need to feel that raw emotion. Like, for example, a very good example is Vinny Pazienza. I think I mentioned him in a previous video quite recently. He was a perfect example of someone who he wanted to feel that raw energy, almost like he was on the verge of being out of control. Another fighter I was intrigued with was Tony Bellew, because he would want to hate his opponents. He would slag them off. He picked a fight with David, a verbal fight with David Hay, because he needed to pump himself up. After his fight with BJ Flores, I think it was, Hay was ringside and he was kicking those little advertising Toblerones out of the ring, and Hay hadn't said fuck all. Hay was just standing there like, yeah, all right, come on then. But he needs to hate people. That's what it seemed to me. He needed to really hype himself up, get himself into fight mode by spitting nails, spitting venom. Maybe Fury falls into that category. I think to a large extent he does. Usyk doesn't. Usyk is the polar opposite. If he could even bring himself to feign that type of behaviour, wouldn't do him any good, So that was the only part. That little face-off and the little tirade from Fury afterwards was the only thing that I found curious about the whole otherwise rather dull press conference, the final press conference. Next up, of course, it's going to be the weigh-in tomorrow, of course, which is Friday. That will be very intriguing to see the weights. I did my prediction video yesterday. I picked Usyk to win on points, probably 116, 112, 115, 113. I don't imagine that the weigh-in will affect how I view that, but we'll see. We'll see. But anyway, what did you think of the final press conference? What did you think of the issues I've talked about in this video? What did you think about Fury's attitude? Tell me. You tell me. All right, then. Thanks a lot, as always. Please subscribe to the channel if you're new and hit the like button if you don't mind. And like I say, subscribe. Support the channel. Come on, you can support the channel. Much love. Catch you later. Bye for now.